Christina Buzelko. In the next few minutes, I will run through some concepts that are very important to understand when studying research methods in psychology. So the first thing I will do is distinguish between experiments and quasi-experiments. So the key difference between these two designs is the fact that experiments have randomly assigned participants, whereas quasi-experiments don't have randomly assigned participants by the researcher. So the researcher doesn't have full experimental control, which does lead to a lot of confounds and not much internal validity. But there's a positive, which is there's a lot of external validity in quasi-experiments because the results are pretty generalizable to a greater group of people, and quasi-experiments are ethical. So something that helped me understand this aspect of quasi-experiments was in the book I read about a study that was done where a researcher wanted to measure the psychological effects of cosmetic procedures. So you can't ethically force someone to undergo a procedure, so they had to pick individuals who have already undergone the procedure or were thinking about it. So that's what helped me kind of understand that quasi-experiments are typically ethical. So the next two concepts I'll talk about are reliability and validity. So validity indicates that the operationalization measures what it's intended to measure, and reliability indicates that the results are consistent. So there are three types of reliability. There is intertest reliability, which is when two observers come together at the end and compare their measures and find similar patterns. There is test-retest reliability, which is when a test is able to be done multiple times and produce similar patterns. And there's internal reliability, which is when the participant is able to produce the same answer no matter how a question's written, as long as the question is measuring the same thing each time. And then the next thing I will talk about and last thing is convergent validity, which is when a measure is strongly associated with a theoretical construct that already exists. So if I were to be measuring emotional investment in marriage, I would compare my findings to the investment model that was developed in 1988 by Agnew, Martz, and Rusbalt, which measures emotional investment, satisfaction levels, and compatibility. So if my findings were similar to that, I would see that that has high convergent validity. Thank you. Bye.